I wanted to talk a little bit more about autistic communication styles and how to communicate with autistic people. So, I think the first most important thing to know about autistic communication, well, there's two things. So, the first is that autistic people are not able to process as fast as neurotypical people because we're going through a lot more inputs. So that results in kind of an inability to read the room, an inability to take in, well, the information is being taken in, but it's not being processed right away. So that's really important for autistic communication because I think that it plays into a lot of the way that autism shows up for people socially. The second is we don't do well with transitions. So in the short video I made, it was like, we're either only talking or only listening. And it seems like if your processing speed is slow and if you're having trouble socially, it's better to just choose one. And in my life, I always chose to be quiet. I was the never say anything autistic, just be the wallflower. And I know other autistic people who are less masked, who seem like they could take up so much space. There's an interesting thing that I've seen with autistic people, and I haven't seen the connection made, but I'm going to go ahead and make the connection now. And if you're a clinician, let me know if I am incorrect on this or if we know what it is. But autistic people that I knew when they were kids would sometimes have volume problems. So they would be like, hello! And they would be like way too loud for the situation. And their parents would have to be like, hey, be quieter. I also knew other people who would start lower and then they would get louder as they would get more excited. So I don't know what that is. It wasn't like a pattern that I had necessarily, but it was definitely something that I observed growing up. And now I'm like, yeah, I think that's a part of autism somehow. I don't know exactly how it's connected. So one of the parts of autistic communication that I wanted to talk about is something that I learned from TikTok, believe it or not, from a researcher. Can't remember her name, but she has really cool hair. Half of her bangs are dark and half of her bangs are light. If you know who I'm talking about, remind me her name and I will tag her. But one of the things that she said is neurotypical people will do vibes first. So they're going to be talking with small talk. Autistic people don't understand small talk. We're like, why the heck would you want to talk about nothing? So autistic people tend to go deeper very fast. They tend to overshare. They tend to give a lot of stuff, a lot of information. So autistic people are understood to be information first and vibes second. I think the reason is because autistic people can't really pick up on the vibes necessarily. So it might take a few times of being with someone to pick up on whether you like spending time with them. Also, I think autistic people connect through their information, through their special interests. That's why if you're hanging out with an autistic person that doesn't have your same special interest, it can be really hard to connect with them because you just don't really have anything to go on and all they want to talk about is ladybugs and all you want to talk about is your charm bracelets. I also know, this is a little bit off topic, but I know some autistic people that have had the same special interest for a long time. Mine always change, and it's really frustrating to me that I never have the same special interest for very long, but it does mean that I can go on various topics with people for longer. So I wanted to dig more into this vibes first thing because I think it's one of the main ways that autistic people get misunderstood. As an autistic person, I don't really navigate the social landscape very well. But I have studied psychology a lot and I'm very empathic. So if you tell me what has gone on, I can piece together like what happened. And sometimes I can discern what happened after the fact. So here's a good example. I don't navigate parking lots very well. And I was at Costco one day and I was just murdering through the through the parking lot, just like, oh, so sorry, I can't, oh God. And I was just like really being a mess. And the Costco parking lot, it's like one of those crosswalks you see in like Tokyo. It's just like everybody is everywhere and it's a nightmare. And I pulled up to the curb, and I don't know if I pulled up to the curb the wrong way or I cut someone off or some lady was mad at me. And I could see in the moment that she was being shitty to me, but I didn't really understand why. So I just pulled up to the curb and was like, all right, this lady's gonna be mean to me. So I got out and I think I was loading some groceries. Like maybe I left my cart on the side. And I was just loading my groceries and she said something shitty to me. I have no idea what. And I just froze, which is what I do. And it's a mixture probably of a trauma response and just my regular autistic response, which is no idea what's going on, freeze. And what's so cool about that reaction to things is people don't know what the heck is wrong with me. They think that I'm like, something is seriously wrong with my brain because I don't try to defend myself because I have no ability. You know, it's the mixture of like, oh my God, somebody's being mean to me. The mixture of that and then also not being able to process. There is too much going on around me. I am incapable of knowing what's going on right now. Huge disability for me. Because I'm not able to protect myself, I'm not able to reasonably predict what could happen. So I just try to get out of the situation as fast as I can. By the way, this entire process is completely exhausting for me. I may only be able to do this task during the day, and then I have to go home and like, decompress from what that was and what I just took in. I took in so much information. But that day I got back in my car and I remember driving away with my groceries and going, that lady was mad at me. Why? And I think that I was able to piece it together. I don't remember it now. But just stuff like that all through my life. Interesting. Someone is mad at me and I don't know why. And I am frozen and I am not processing the situation. It happened when I went through my bullying when I was a kid. Same thing, the bullies would have such a strange reaction to me just being like, I think that what I need a lot of the time with socializing is just some sort of commentary that someone can provide me. And I'm having much closer friendships to where that might be a possibility soon in my life where I could have someone just explain to me what just happened socially. In the past, it's been like, oh, not close enough to people to be like, what just went on there? And someone could be like, oh, well, you said something that hurt that person's feelings and they didn't tell you, and then they just shut down. And I'm like, oh, interesting. I could tell that they shut down, but I didn't know why. And I just needed them to tell me, you said something that hurt my feelings and now I am shut down. I've had so many people, maybe not so many people, but definitely friendships in my life that ended because I said something that hurt someone, and all I needed was what you said hurt me, because I could not pick up on the vibe, either in the situation or later. I was like, well, that person just isn't friends with me anymore, and they just went away, and they expected me to pick up on a vibe that I am incapable of picking up on. I think one of the things that autistic people need to get good at is hearing that negative feedback, because sometimes, there's like this rejection reaction that we have too. We're more sensitive to everything. So more sensitive to rejection as well. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. If you cannot pick up on people's negativity and their negative vibes, and you can't handle it when people tell you about their negative vibes, you got to be able to hear it. So that's the skill that I try to develop, is like being able to hear when someone says, what you said hurt me, or what you did was inappropriate. I expected you to do this and you did that. Being able to hear that is important to me. And I have a friend, Jeff, who is autistic, who picks up on even less vibes than me. And a lot of the time I'll try to provide him that monologue where I'm like, oh, yeah, you didn't pick up on that lady that she would never come back again. Like, because we run a group together, but I could tell that she was just like, oh, bye. And he didn't pick up on it at all. So sometimes like I'll provide that for him. And I hope that, it's not always, it doesn't always feel appropriate. And sometimes you're not close enough to that autistic person, but to provide them the expository information of what happened in the social situation so that they can have that information can be really helpful, especially if they seem perplexed at what happened there, or if people are disconnecting from them. Oh, by the way, you said this and it seemed like Linda was really hurt by that, and maybe she's not responding to you. Here's what I perceived in that situation. That's really helpful. And I think that needs to be normalized for all people. This is not just autistic people that have trouble reading people's vibes. It's very common in romantic relationships for people to say, oh, I just expected you to know what I was feeling. That expectation that people will pick up on our emotional cues is, it can be really destructive to relationships. The last thing I wanted to talk about with autistic communication, I don't know if this one is just me. So if you're autistic, tell me if you feel this way. I really need people to be listening to me. And because of that, I really struggle in groups. I struggle in groups not just because those situations are more platonic, so we're more likely to be doing small talk in a group of people, but also there's too many input points. And when I'm addressing a group, there are more people possible to not be listening to me. And I don't know what it is, but I need people's like undivided attention in order to feel like safe and taken in by them. I watch other people, they can just like talk and talk and talk and nobody is listening to them. And I'm like, oh my God, I would feel so rejected by that. So I struggle in groups of people, and I still struggle one-on-one sometimes when I feel like someone might not be listening to me. The way that I have solved that or helped some of it is to do stream of consciousness recordings. So with my friends, I will record voice messages for them and send them. And that really helps me just be able to have my monologue and it flow however it wants. And then they can send a response. And I have no idea whether they have listened or not. But if they have gotten the information, then I know that they were listening. For whatever reason, and sometimes I close my eyes, like when I'm like one-on-one with someone, and I want to close my eyes because the eye contact makes it worse for me for whatever reason, because I'm like, should I look up, should I look down, and like I don't know what to do with my eyes. So sometimes I will close my eyes and just say what I have to say so that I don't have to pick up on whether or not they are listening to me by how much they are making eye contact or if they're fidgeting or whatever. So that's something that I've picked up on with myself, is like, I really need people to be able to be listening to me. And I think I'm someone who commands attention pretty well. I command a room pretty well. I have a lot of charisma. I have a lot of communication skill. But it's like I think a wound in me that's like, no, please listen to me. You're not listening to me. And I don't know how to say that when I'm in like open forum with a group, just like, no, everybody has to listen to me. Like it feels very childlike, but that's definitely the truth for me. And it's why I shy away from a lot of open conversations. So yeah, that is just my longer commentary on autistic communication. And if you're autistic, I would love to hear like what you think about this, or like any artifacts that you've noticed about autistic communication.